Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the regular council meeting for August 27th. Call the meeting to order, please. Council, we need to adopt minutes of July 23rd, August 13th, and the committee of the whole, August 13th. Are there any errors or omissions? Anybody noticed? Okay, could I have a motion to adopt? Councillor Pete, Councillor Holmes, all in favor? Carried, thank you. Okay, moving on to 2.2. CAO. Just go right into the public hearing report. Okay, oh, okay. Yeah. Motion to adopt the public hearing report of August 13th. Councillor Holmes. Councillor Boot, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Okay. Any amendments to the agenda, please?
There are no amendments to the agenda this evening.
Okay, resolution to adopt tonight's agenda, please. Councillor Holmes, Councillor Peak, all in favor? Thank you. Carried. No delegations, no hearings. Okay, item 6.1. There's the opportunity for the public to speak to any highlighted item on the agenda. And I'd ask you to please limit your comments to 2 minutes. And we'll accept anybody coming forward. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Colin Woodbridge. My mom and I are the ones that arranged for the Woodbridge Nature Preserve to become just that. It was brought to my attention a few days ago that a few of the very, very particular habitat trees for the Lewis woodpecker were removed, 3 of them. I did contact Bartlett Tree Service, as they were the ones who removed them. They informed me that they were told that they had permission from the municipality of Summerland to do so. I'm obviously quite upset, as is the rest of my family, as this is not what is supposed to be happening with a nature preserve. That's why it's a preserve and not a park. I also was under the understanding that the entire property that was the park was fenced. I didn't realize it is actually only just along the street, but that's a discussion for another time. I want to know if there was an actual arborist that did the survey of the trees that we're talking about that needed to be taken down. Aside from that, I think it's more important that a biologist also check those trees, as those were specific trees that the screech owl and the Lewis woodpecker do live in and nest in. I don't think it's just an arborist's discretion at this point when it is in a nature preserve. When we had to deal with everything to do with that property, we spent thousands on biologists, but we were recommended to do so from the municipality of Summerland, so I don't know why other people are able to just chop down whatever they want when it's not even, we're really upset either way. So I really want to have this dealt with. I know you guys are talking about it more next week, but I really, really would like some answers. I also want to know what recourse is going to happen about this, and I want to know what is going to be done so that this doesn't happen again in the future. We have very, very limited habitat for Lewis woodpecker and screech owl, very limited, and this is not the reason that we arranged for this to become a preserve, and we're just really upset. So I just wanted to say that out loud. Sorry for being emotional, but it's a very emotional thing for me. My grandfather owned that property since 1948, and yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. As you know, we're looking into the issue, and the meeting we're having on the 6th.
Yes, thank you.
Is it the 6th will be?
Well, in item 12.5, we'll discuss it.
Okay, yeah, we'll discuss it in the 12.5. Thank you very much. Yes?
Lorraine Benest, 7400 Swallowbeck. Good evening, Council. Consider whether the recommended motion for the Water Conservation Plan endorsement is appropriate. This constitutes quite a policy change for our community. The wording here is endorsed and adopted. At first glance, the recommendation for universal meters seems quite logical and reasonable. Except for the little line that says cost for the meters borne by customers. Perhaps it might be wise to consider alternatives and to cost out the alternatives before accepting this recommendation. And remember, the annual savings projected here are $9,600. Reasons are, the original meter installs were done at the cost of the utility. The under 2-acre customers were not dealt with at that time. And also, there were a number of properties, mainly rural, where meters that should have been installed at the property line were installed in the house, and a number of connections before the house are therefore unmetered. Other properties with a similar situation had pit meters installed at the property line at the utility's cost. In a small community like ours, it's important that fairness be maintained and that every effort is offered to encourage water consumers to ensure that all their water consumption is metered. And who's going to come forward and ask to pay for a meter that their neighbor had installed at no direct cost? And now they will have to pay for every cubic meter. Simply rubber stamping this policy by endorsing and adopting this report will cause unnecessary problems. Could we instead consider whether it is perhaps better to reduce emphasis on meters for revenue collection? If we think it's important to make that annual savings of $9,600, we're far better to try and set up a rate structure that people are not penalized by and encourage them to apply voluntarily to be put on a list to eventually get a pit meter at the cost of the utility. And they do this in Penticton. Could we alter the residential rate so that there is a base allocation of a volume of water to be covered by the monthly charge? Of even greater importance in this document is the issue of leak detection, which is estimated to involve 11.8% of our water consumption. The recommendation is to spend $50,000 annually plus the cost of repairs to potentially save $38,500 in water treatment plant costs. Wouldn't it be far better sense to emphasize the importance of further system split? Not only do we immediately reduce the demand on the water treatment plant, but we also get brand new pipes in the ground. Our recent failure to obtain a $6 million grant for the Giants Head System Split project must be recognized as a significant miscalculation. And I'm hoping that the application has been reconfigured to take advantage of the environmental benefits of reducing the draw on our water treatment plant with its attendant waste byproducts. New pipes leak less. New roads over those new pipes would make me more inclined to buy that expensive electric car. The Giants Head Road surface is deteriorating to the point where it's losing its value as our town's primary recreation corridor. This plan has been done to backstop a funding application, yet it doesn't mention the most important funding application currently pending, which is the continuation of our system split efforts. Thank you.
Does anybody else like to speak to any highlighted issue? Okay. Thank you very much. Move on to our report for this evening. 2 weeks from now, Council will be attending the Union of British Columbia Municipality Convention. It's an excellent opportunity to lobby officials to deal with concerns that the municipality is facing. This year, we are focused on issues around flooding, affordable housing, infrastructure, agricultural technology, among others. We meet staff, ministers where applicable and where they're available, as well as we discuss similar concerns with other mayors and councillors who are attending the convention. We will be having a joint meeting with the Parliamentary Secretary for Emergency Preparedness and Ministry of Forest, Lands and Natural Resources, Operations and Rural Development, primarily to discuss issues around creek access problems we've encountered during flooding of Aeneas Creek the last 2 springs. We'll also be meeting with the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure to discuss the Lakeshore Pathway. Council would like to discuss funding and timelines, as this is an important aspect of cycling tourism and commuter transit. A key aspect of the Summerland Economic Development Initiatives project has been the development of the Regional Ag Tech Innovation Center, and we will be meeting with the Minister of Agriculture to discuss the opportunities to move this forward. This has been one of the outcomes of the Mayor's Task Force on the economy. We'll also be meeting with the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Affordable Housing, particularly around infrastructure funding and the Ag Tech Innovation Center. We're currently waiting for a response to our request for various meetings with ministry staff, and I've just heard that the Premier will not be able to meet with us. UBC is always a busy week, but it's always very important for the municipality to have this opportunity to lobby, to meet ministers, and to definitely to mix up with the other councillors and mayors in BC. That's my report. Jill.
Thank you. Council, I intended this at our morning's committee, the whole meeting, to state that we were expecting the system impact study for the integrated solar and battery storage project today, and we had announced that at our meeting 2 weeks ago. But it has actually been delayed by our consultant when Tammy, our sustainability coordinator, and our new electrical utility manager had their last conference call with the consultants. They identified a number of assumptions that had been made that were incorrect again, and these ones very technical, so it was the electrical utilities manager that brought them to their attention. So it's been sent back to the consultants in the recognition that they need to be working on it solidly for the September 24th meeting, and that we need to get it in place by then. So just wanted to mention that's why it didn't come forward today. And most of you have probably seen that the skate park, there's a little bit of equipment there. It is scheduled to digging starting this week. We haven't heard if it's today or, I mean, what day of the week, but it will be this week. And that's all I have to say today.
Thank you. Okay, we have anything brought forward from our committee of the whole?
We do. We have one resolution coming forward from this morning's August 27th Committee of the Whole meeting.
This was in relation to council's discussion on, brought forward by Councillor Holmes for looking at a bobsled to honor Justin Cripp's gold medal win and excellence in sports and recreation. And so council did put forward the recommendation that we look further into the opportunity to purchase the bobsled and to get a final price on what that second-hand bobsled would be from the Bobsled Canada, and that we do initiate some conversations with community members and organizations to determine if there's some partnerships in bringing that forward. And at this point in time, we're unsure on the magnitude of cost, but we believe that it'll be around $7,500 for the bobsled itself.
Okay, any discussion? Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, I'd just like to clarify the purpose of the bobsled, to put out display, not for us to race down Giant's Head Mountain.
That's a good point. So a permit display of a bobsled, which would be accessible to people that want to be able to see it and touch it. And so it would require being brought forward with a motion and resolution tonight if you want to move forward your recommendation.
So, Councillor Holmes, would you like to have the honor?
Bring forward as written.
Okay, seconder, please. Councillor Barkville. Any further discussion? Councillor Peak.
I think it's an opportunity to honor a gold win from somebody that grew up in our community, and I think there's a very good opportunity for community partnerships and businesses and perhaps some of our sports teams to get involved in this kind of a celebration and bring the money forward from the community.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. So moving on to 10.1, correspondence. Councillor, is there anything there that you would like to bring forward at this time? Councillor Boot and Councillor Traynor.
Thank you. There are a couple of pieces of correspondence. The first is from the Okanagan Basin Water Board about protecting our watersheds, specifically Peachland's watershed and Summerland's watersheds, from mining activities in the Okanagan. That letter is written to the Minister of Energy, Mines and Petroleum Resources. And then I also wanted to make note of another letter that Okanagan Basin Water Board has sent to the new Minister of Fisheries and Oceans federally, reminding him or pushing forward on the funding priorities to prevent the invasive mussels from coming into British Columbia, and the total request is just over $2 million. So they are continuing, as we are at here and at the RDOS table, pushing to make sure that we don't have those mussels, that catastrophe. Thank you.
May I speak to that?
Yes.
Just on the first one, regarding the mining, because of the timing and the submissions to UBCM, we did not put an advance schedule into setting up a meeting with the ministers in regards to how they overlooked us in the referrals. And it is something that council can discuss further. As you know, we can request meetings while we're at UBCM. So I certainly was planning, we didn't list out any of the ones that we're going to be asking to have with senior staff, but I certainly was planning to have one with senior staff on that issue. But if council does want to be look towards a minister meeting as well to supplement this letter, we can do that while when the desk opens at UBCM.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Councillor Trainer.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on that letter as well. I would like to meet with either the senior staff or the minister about that, if that's okay. And then also, do you have an update on what's going on right now with mining there? Like, they were just doing tests, is that correct?
I have not received an update in the last while. Mr. Johnson, have you received an update from Devon? It's been our manager of utilities have been overseeing it, and he's not here today. We'll get an update.
Okay. So when we get to UBCM, that's when we would put in the request?
Yeah, at this point in time, we can't we request it while you're there, but they usually try to accommodate it. So I'll have further discussions with the mayor and have something ready, and then we would request it when we arrive.
Okay, thanks.
It also may be an opportunity to cooperate with Peachland. So
I
the
think it's really
possibility there
important that we meet about
to reinforce the issue. Yeah. Okay, anything else?
Just that point, I think it's a very good one. I think maybe if we could talk to Peachland beforehand, we could do this together.
Yeah, good idea. I mean, it was the mayor that brought it to my attention, and then we moved on with it at that point. Okay, could I have a motion to receive correspondence, please? Councillor Peak, Councillor Holmes, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, 12 services reports, 12.1. Just dealing with that.
That will be Mr. Johnson.
Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of this report is to review and endorse the new water conservation plan that's being brought forward. This plan is used to aid in the efficient use of water within the district, and is also a requirement of the current funding program which the district will be applying for the Trout Creek and water intake structure program. So the plan supplements the current drought response plan that was prepared in 2011, and it also integrates aspects of water management into the plan. This plan will be reviewed further during the water master plan update process, which is currently ongoing and will be completed later this year. And that being said, staff recommends that council endorse and adopts this plan to be attached to our submission for the Trout Creek and intake upgrades.
This is a typical one where it's, the timing is a little bit difficult. The deadline for the submission for the infrastructure grant for the flume is on Wednesday, and it's mandatory that we have this attached to it, or it greatly increases the chances of being successful on the grant funding, but it does require more consultation and more discussion. So the intent would be to continue, as Mr. Johnson said.
Okay, I have a question then. Given the timing, that we have regarding the funding source, there won't be time for any potential adjustments in the conservation plan, but is there an opportunity as we go down the road
But that, yes.
to make some adjustments in that?
Absolutely, that
Okay.
would be the absolute intent, would be to make adjustments, to receive it and endorse it at this point, but to adjust it with further discussion and consultation as the...
Correct. It was based on a lot of information that was in our 2008 master plan as well as our drought response plan. Since we're going through that update of our master plan, it makes sense to update this as well. Even though we're just endorsing it and approving it now, it will be reviewed and should be reviewed in conjunction with that master plan update.
Okay, because as you heard tonight, there were some concerns brought up that are, obviously, we should be looking at some of those, and hopefully there'll be an opportunity, if it's necessary, after consultation, to make some adjustments. Okay, but the time is of the essence in terms of applying for the funding, so. Councillor Peak.
Yes, the expressions from Ms. Benest around the statements that she made are some that have been dealt with around this table in equity and fairness and what the ongoing structure will be. So, well, I might understand endorsing the report for the funding. I'm wondering what the mechanism for the consultation will be in going forward.
That's why I brought it up. Your comments are that we will be making some consultation efforts?
With the development of the master plan.
Yeah, okay. So that will happen. So doing this, passing this recommendation tonight doesn't put this water conservation plan in cement at this point. Right, Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, I'm still uncomfortable with this, the under 2 acre things, the way it's worded here. You know, it's something that it's been on the table for, you know, since the last election, and we haven't dealt with it yet. And just the way it's worded, it looks like we're trying to do something through the back door here. And I don't think it would take a lot of effort just to change the wording a bit to make it clear that we haven't decided who's paying for what yet. I think we can just change the wording so it's not that they would be required, but that something like those meters with 2 services would have them installed the second meter and something like that without specifying who's paying for it, because this is I don't think it's acceptable the way it is when we've had no discussion on how we're dealing with the second meter.
But is it not, what's written in here is not the practice as it is right now, whether or not it's been dealt with at this point in time?
As far as homeowners purchasing their meters, since the implementation of the program, that is how they're handled. But I understand what you're saying as far as the 2 acre and under parcel issue itself hasn't been brought forward for further discussion on how it's being handled. So there is an opportunity to amend this before it goes forward. It would have to be then.
But it's the current I think.
It's not.
Oh, that's what I'm asking.
In general terms, but with regards to the 2 acre parcel, there hasn't been a clear direction on how to proceed with those ones that weren't metered during the first implementation of all the other meters, which is different than how we handle new parcels going forward now. So if to make a small adjustment to remove the portion about as far as if it speaks to who's paying for that meter around those 2 acre parcels and under specifically, that can be amended based on council directions tonight and included in the plan that gets submitted.
Okay, Councillor Barco.
Can you tell me what page that part is? Because I've been looking through it.
Page 13.
Page
13.
Page 13, okay.
Fourth paragraph in 3.2.
Page 13. There we go.
There's another factor that isn't really addressed.
Lorraine, we can't accept anything more at this point. I think what the CAO has said, that we will be making changes, and I want to understand what Councillor Holmes is wanting to do here. Do you want to make these changes now, or are you suggesting that we move ahead with funding opportunities, and then in the consultation process that before that plan is actually finalized, that we will move on those things?
I'm saying we can make a quick change to this paragraph right now and still use it for the funding opportunities.
Okay?
That's what
So,
I'm saying.
okay, I just want to be clear. So, in that you're talking the 4th paragraph, the impact of installing?
Yeah.
Okay, what are you suggesting? Go ahead.
As they... Rather than as they would be required to install the second meter, just say as they would require a second meter or transfer. Something, how about that? So it doesn't put the onus on who's doing the installing.
Do you see where we're going there, Chris?
Yep.
How do you see that? As a reasonable wording change? CAO, have you any comment?
No, but Chris, you should read back what you're...
Yeah, so we have, the impact of installing these meters may have a perceived negative impact on those metered customers with two services, as they would require a second meter or transfer their irrigation onto their domestic water service.
Is that correct? Okay, Councillor Barco.
I support the concept, but I didn't read the original one as saying anything about who's required to pay for that meter.
It implies the customer.
You know, when I didn't read it that way, but I'm certainly glad to make it clear that we haven't resolved that issue of how we're going to deal with those at all. That isn't the policy. It's been debated at length, and no answer is being received. So I agree with you 100% there. I just hadn't been terribly concerned about this wording, but if you're more comfortable with it that way, then great. I support that. So,
Yeah, okay, just, I guess, does that provide the clarity, do you think, that we're looking for?
It's fine. It doesn't, it's not a negative, it's a acceptable change for all means.
Okay. Well, let's put that suggested change.
If I could read that resolution?
Well, it's not a at this...
It's just a wording
At this
change
point,
in
it's
the
not a
document.
resolution, it's just that we're just amending the document.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Could I just
Go ahead, Councillor
say
Goode.
one thing? If we're changing that to, second meter would be required, or transferring their irrigation onto domestic water service, then I'm not sure that the first part of that sentence makes sense when we're talking about the negative, perceived negative impact. Is there any, is there any perceived negative impact with the installation of another meter? Or transferring it to their domestic water?
I'll let Councillor Holmes talk to that.
Well, I don't know.
I think the Director of Finance would like to speak.
Okay, Director of Finance, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think the only perceived negative impact in that instance would be that all of the water now will be flowing through a meter and being captured, as opposed to currently those properties have unlimited water use and are billed on a flat fee for the entire year. Now, with everything going through the meter, there could be a perception that they would be paying more for that same amount of water. That's how I read that.
It's possible, yeah. Okay, Councillor Barco.
I wondered if I could get clarification on another issue Ms. Benes referred to, and it sounded like she was suggesting that the leak detection would cost $50,000 a year, but I'm understanding from a relatively quick reading that that's just the initial cost, and there was no ongoing amount for further years after the initial leaks have been detected.
While, are you going to speak to that?
I was just reviewing the item that was brought up.
Right. And again, I think we have to stress that this document needs further work on it and review on it. Maybe Mr. Johnson's going to be able to speak to it, but...
No, well, just in general, I guess it's to bring forward these ideas that on things that could be pursued further with policy. This isn't policy, this is an overarching plan that will guide. However, I don't have enough information right now to speak specifically to those costs.
Well, let's go with the change that Councillor Holmes has suggested, but I think we're looking at, as we move forward on it and finalize the water conservation plan in light of the 211 master plan, then we'll have a more complete document, and as an overarching piece of information, once it's more accurate and brought into line, then it'll help determine policy. So we're good with that. I don't, Councillor Booth?
Could I just ask one other thing? Also, on the bottom of page 14, there's two different figures. The annual savings would be 38.5, And then the last line of that page, potential savings of 42. So whichever one it is, maybe they could just be aligned to match, if that's what that actually means.
It's 38.5.
38.5. So just the bottom one needs to be adjusted then, I guess.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, so that's, doesn't require a motion, it's just moving ahead on, making sure that a bit of a change is in the document. Councillor Barkle.
I move that the water conservation plan as amended and attached and per the balance of the motion be moved.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Holmes, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll move ahead, but I do want to say that, you know, I think it's going to be necessary to do a thorough job. I mean, it's important that we move ahead for this funding opportunity right now. But we, as the CAO mentioned, there will be certainly a lot more discussion around the final information in the plan. So, anyway, all in favor? Opposed? Thank you. One opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay, 12.2 is dealing with that.
This one will turn to Ms. Mullen.
Lori, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As per my written report, only one submission was received for the Giants Head Mountain Trails construction tender, which was by Cabin Forestry Services, and the tender price was significantly over the project budget. This is a time-sensitive project, and there are restrictions when construction can take place as per the environmental management plan, as well as deadlines for the Rural Dividend Grant Program. Therefore, staff recommend that the tender process is canceled and staff sole source negotiate with Cabin Forestry Services with an objective to negotiate a contract for the work which falls within the project budget. The construction project is targeted to begin in September of this year and be substantially completed by the end of March of 2019. Bench Site Design, who completed the detailed design and the tender documents, have reviewed the submitted tender pricing sheet and determined that there may be some options to negotiate aspects of the work in order to obtain a contract which does fall within budget. Staff is seeking council direction on how to proceed with this project and approval to enter into an agreement with Cabin Forestry Services to complete trail construction on Giants Head Mountain.
Okay, thank you. A quick question before going to Councillor Traynor. What aspect of this will be not done if we adhere to your first comments?
We don't know.
We really don't know?
That's
Okay.
what we would be doing, is negotiate. We wouldn't predetermine.
Okay.
By canceling it, we would be renegotiating it.
Councillor Traynor.
Can I ask approximately how much over budget Cabin Forestry Services came in?
It was over $300,000 over the base budget.
Oh, wow, okay. Do we know why it was that much over? Is that just what they value the work at, or?
I think we reported to council a while back that municipalities were seeing a trend where construction budgets were just coming in all over the place, much higher, double. And it's been something that's been reported to us at various conferences, and we hadn't been seeing too much of it yet. But the last couple that we've had, we're starting to see it. And that certainly the contract that we use to assist with the tender process, because he's doing tenders for a number of different municipalities, has confirmed that he's seeing it consistently.
Okay. Is he the one that originally came up with the price for what?
No.
No?
That would be,
That's through Bench. Bench did the estimates.
Yeah, okay.
The CAO is referencing the procurement contract.
Okay.
Councillor Fee.
I understand the suggestion for sole sourcing, and I would appreciate the fact that staff are going to have those discussions, and I will bring this motion forward, but I have a question, so I'll bring it forward and then I'll do my question. Staff council attends a tender process for trail construction on Giants Head Mountain Park Phase 1 and 2, and that staff be authorized to sole source the negotiate with Cabin Forestry Services Limited with an objective to negotiate a contract for the work which falls within the project budget, and further that the mayor or corporate officer be authorized to execute a contract for services with the Cabin Forestry Services Limited. My question would be if the negotiation... I'm sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
Seconder.
We'll look for a
Seconder.
second.
Okay.
I'd like to second. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Holmes. My question is, if you are unable to negotiate, and we have a time frame for getting this work started in September, will you have an opportunity to do this negotiation prior to the September 24th meeting?
We would absolutely attempt to, because we had exactly that discussion when we were deciding what recommendation to bring forward to council. We had discussed whether or not we should just leave it, that we have the opportunity to sole source, period, and not necessarily with cabin. But there'll be other things that come up if we were going to think about moving to a different one, which we'd need to talk to council about. So if not by the 24th, even by, if we schedule this new one on September 6th, we hope to move very quickly on this. Negotiations would start immediately, and we'd also work with the Rotary, since they're our partners on this one as well.
Thank you. This is a very important project for the town.
Councillor Holmes?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any problem with the approach that that staff recommends here. I just wanted to, I guess, ask about this trend of tender prices coming in over estimate costs. I think we have seen it here already with the skate park and even the docks, you know. And I'm wondering if there's been any discussion in municipal circles just about the way that they put tenders out, and if that's a problem itself. I mean, they know what we have budgeted, and you know, I don't even know if it's allowed, but can you go out, can you put out to tenders saying, this is how much we have, what can you do for it? What can you do for that amount? As opposed to saying, this is our job, how much is it going to cost?
So we often do that when it's a request for proposals. That's one of the reasons that we move to a request for proposal. So sometimes you don't disclose the budget. If someone's astute enough, they can usually find it in your financial plan, but quite often it's a part of a bigger project, so you don't actually know. And you try to be strategic on if you choose to go tender, or you choose ones like this. Because it's all itemized, you can pick and choose things out of it if you only have the one, if it's expected to be very competitive. We had, I think, 6 people show up at the site visit. Usually that's an indication that you're going to get, if people come to this, was it 6?
There were several, but some were grouped together.
Right. So, but you're absolutely correct. We try to be a little bit more creative and go request for proposals more often now, because it allows you to say, this is the money, tell us. We certainly did that with the asset management project and a few other ones, where we say, this is the budget, tell us what you can do to make it happen.
Okay, any other discussion? Any questions of Director? Okay, mover and seconder, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Okay, 12.3.
Ms. Rotherby couldn't be here tonight, but, so this one was the one that was on council agenda last meeting, and we just felt like we needed a little bit more information. It's a request from Fortis BC for support from the district to support their application to BC Utilities Commission of an increased budget on their demand management side, to increase their funding for conservation and energy management side of things. As Summerland uses their energy conservation projects, and there's nothing that we could see that's a problem by supporting this. It's a program that we highly support and highly encourage our residents to take advantage of. We did double check with the BC MEU, the electrical utilities. Alex Love from Nelson is the president, just to find out if there was anything on the political side for us supporting a request for fee increase for Fortis when we buy wholesale from Fortis. And this, of course, is the gas side. And they also did a letter of support, so they saw no issues with it.
Okay, someone like to bring that forward, please? Councillor Holmes? Councillor Peak, seconder, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed, carried, thank you. Okay, on to 12.4. This was, I guess everybody has the additional comments that were put out now,
Yeah.
right? Outstanding resolutions?
No.
I understand this was missed in the electronic version, but it's in the electronic version now. So if you're looking at the electronic version, you'll have it. Is that it? Right, that's probably it, right? Is that it?
There's nothing here.
So, as council's, am I?
I see.
Yep, go ahead.
As council's aware, we used to do a tracking item, two tracking items. One is just our work plans and trying to track the key projects that we're working on, but also outstanding resolution. It often happens, it often happens when council passes resolutions in municipalities that if you're not recording them, then time goes by and they fall off and they don't get acted upon for various reasons. And so we started to, we reintroduced, we've had lots of changes of staff, we reintroduced the list, whoa, it's little writing.
I can read it, you're okay.
But we noted when we tried to update some of them that we just wanted to produce it in a separate report in case there was any that council, with this amount of time that went by, wanted to strike from the list or to remove the resolution that they had made on it. Most of them, the idea is to, every meeting, make sure that it's up to date and that there's action items and dates. We're probably 50% there right now. We still just getting back on track on using this. So we will get it fully populated next time. From what we understand, this is all the resolutions since we've been here that are outstanding that council's made.
Councillor Barkle.
I don't remember if this was a formal resolution or not, but it came before council, last October maybe, to rename Kelly Avenue, a portion of Kelly Avenue Veterans Way, and it was too close to Remembrance Day to have it done for Remembrance Day, and then it came up again that we'd like to see this done before, the buildings are built and such.
I believe it's on here.
Is it on there? It was...
Just looking for it.
I could easily have missed it, but I wanted to make sure it's there.
I don't think, my memory is, I don't think we passed a resolution.
Yeah, that was the other part. I wasn't sure if it was an actual, came forward from a committee of the Heritage Advisory Commission, and we've accepted their report, but we didn't go with the, and we were just sort of given assurances that it'll be done later. So if we need a resolution, maybe we'll do that at some point.
It is on the work plan. The reason I thought it was on here is because I just read something recently, and we talked about it at one of our last meetings, that it's still in the queue. I mean, of course, when you see the outstanding tasks, there's probably 500 things on it, so that will be the next thing that we update and bring to council. But these are the formal, I thought it was here, but I guess not.
It was referred back to staff because there were other requests in the community for that street to be named and other things.
Yeah.
And so that's why it was referred to staff.
Councillor Traynor.
I don't know if this fits into this, but what about resolutions that come forward from, for example, the Heritage Commission? Will they come in, would they be populated in here?
So that was the other thing that we were talking about. So anything that comes from a committee is the ideal or the proper process, even if it's committee of the whole or the Heritage Committee or another committee, is that they then, as they come as recommendations, and then they get turned, the council passes them or not, or considers them as resolutions, and when the resolutions, they get on here. We're backlogged with a number of committees, especially the Heritage Committee, because of our change in the development services. And so once Corey is up to speed or fully staffed, she'll be bringing all of those recommendations forward for consideration, and then they'll go on here.
Okay.
So at this point, though, we're receiving this for information. There's no intent at this point to plow through each one of these and determine.
No, and
priority.
that's right. I think that the intent today is to really to separate it out for council to have a look at, and then say if there's anything that just because of time, it became a item that shouldn't even be on here anymore, then we could, but it doesn't have to be done now, it's just to
That's what
bring
I'm
it to
getting
you.
at. We've just received this
Yeah.
now.
You could just receive it now,
I
yeah.
think, I mean, I don't know about the rest of you, but fortunately I can read it, because it's, although it's tiny print, so I'm quite happy about that. But at the same time, there's a lot of items there. If we receive it as presented now, and I think we need to all have the opportunity to go through it and put some indications on it as to whether in our own minds something is off the table at this point. I think, given the load that's there, there may be some that are no longer considered to be brought, to need to be brought forward. So that is possible, but I think we need time to go over it. I certainly haven't had an opportunity to go through this, and I think we need to do that. So I'd urge you to just receive, and then we will go through the list and at another time. Okay? Councillor Barco?
I move that we receive the
Okay.
report for information.
Seconder, Councillor Trainer,
I'll
or you have a
second.
comment?
I just have a quick question. Can you just clarify what you mean by us reviewing this and deciding ones that aren't important? Is that what you mean? Because I just scanned it and they all look like,
Well, that could
things
that could easily be the case.
okay.
But
they
when
all
you
look
have, if
important.
items are there and they've been there for, say, quite considerable length of time, it's not that they wouldn't necessarily be important, but then you have to maybe prioritize it, or looking at workload, and see whether they are something that we can, reasonably and practically actually get to. So you want to look at those things, and we'll have to look at that as a group. Perhaps we'll have to do it in a committee of the whole or something like that. CAO, any comment?
No.
Okay, so we have a motion. Did we have a seconder? Councillor Boot?
I think Councillor Trainer.
I
You've got-
second
Okay.
it.
Okay, any further discussion on that? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Okay, moving ahead to 12.5, scheduling a special council meeting.
Yes, Council, as you know, the first meeting in September is generally counciled or not scheduled because of UBCM and the busyness surrounding that and the fact that we're gone that week. However, in looking at the nature of items that have come up, we're recommending that we do schedule a meeting for September 6th, and I've listed a number of the items that we believe would make up the agenda, along with any other urgent matters that come along. We're expecting a number of development services reports would be ready for consideration at that meeting, or at least for a first review at the meeting, 2 for sure, potentially some other short reviews. We also would hope to have the first drafts of the cannabis bylaws coming forward for discussion. I wanted to speak to number 4. I have unauthorized tree removal, Woodbridge Preservation Area on there. It was hoped when we first found out about this tree removal that I would be able to bring the item to council tonight, but it's premature in that it's taking a little time to sort out exactly what happened, who's accountable, what the recourses are. But just for clarity, the district did not provide permission to take the trees down. The Bartlett, who was the company that removed the trees, he did get written confirmation from a contractor that we had provided permission, but in discussions with all the staff involved, there was no permission granted. The trees, staff doesn't have the authority to grant that approval, and when the request came on the Thursday before, the contractor was informed that it would have to be assessed by an arborist, a certified arborist, and then a report would have to come to council. Environment Canada is already involved. The entire park is mapped as critical habitat for Lewis woodpecker under the Federal Species at Risk Act. So even if the trees were not healthy trees, they shouldn't have been taken out without the qualified oversight on it. And so there is somebody already with Canadian Wildlife Service working with us and looking at what the ramifications might be. But so there's lots more. the point of this is I wanted to let you know that there's a few more interviews that need to happen with people involved and looking at the recourses, both punitive and also educational, as far as this is starting to happen far too often, whether or not it's in our protected areas or protected by covenants. But before council can make any decisions on actions to take, you need the full information. So at that meeting, September 6th, there'll be more information coming forward for that. We also recognize that the finance report is extremely overdue, so we would put that on that meeting as well as those 2 permissive tax exemptions that we're talking about here. So I recommend the timing of September 6th, it's far enough that we can get some advertising out for some of the things that we needed to do so that's a Thursday night.
Okay. That sounds, I think we've all agreed that evening is acceptable, right? Councillor Peak?
I'll bring the resolution forward.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Holmes, thank you. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Okay, bylaws. Development services, I guess, or
Yep.
14.1?
For that one, yeah.
Corey?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This first application is an application to amend the zoning of a property that I understand you've dealt with extensively downtown, and you've been waiting for this to come forward. The existing zoning is CD7, Comprehensive Development Zone, which was very specific to a previous development proposal and involved additional lands beyond the subject property. However, what we're looking at currently are these 2 parcels that form the subject property, and what I'm proposing is that we use a mixed-use MX1 zone to support the construction of the mixed commercial and residential development. Of course, that would be subject to the downtown development permit area guidelines in due course. We do have a preliminary site plan here. We're expecting 88 rental units and some minor commercial space adjacent to Wharton Road, at the corner there. There will be both under-building parking and parking behind the structure itself. The zone is one that is a split between creating a new comprehensive development zone and the CB1 zone, which is the most similar zone. The applicant indicated a desire to have all of the permitted uses that are allowed in the CB1 zone. So I had started with that as the base to work from. I did remove some uses that were fairly obviously not consistent with the mixed-use residential kind of zone, things that had to do with automotive, etc. So beyond that, the principal uses remain relatively the same list. Similarly, the accessory uses are fairly consistent as well. I have proposed a minimum lot area of 1,000 square meters, which is well less than the actual site size here, with some minimum dimensions that are fairly similar to standard mixed-use zones in other areas. Again, reverting back mainly to the CB1 zone for similar types of regulations. I simply brought over the maximum lot coverage, the maximum floor area ratio, and the provision for density bonusing in specific circumstances. The siting regulations reflect those requested specifically for this development and recognize the often position of a mixed-use development next to residential. Generally speaking, you want to see a 3-meter separation from property lines in those instances. So that is reflected here. And as I say, it was consistent with the proposal from the applicant. As negotiated, I suppose, in the RFP, or certainly as put forward in the RFP, the maximum height in this zone will be 15 meters or 4 stories. and similarly, where there is a requirement, in some cases, if a property is near an intersection, the setbacks and the whatnot need to reflect that line of sight at the intersection, so that's been brought over as well. Mixed use and dwelling regulations, fairly standard. The CB1 zone does restrict the presence of residential on the first story in a way that would be prohibitive in this case. So I have made it possible for residential to be present on the first floor, but that the at-grade entrance to those above the first floor would have to be separate, as it is, again, a standard requirement. Similarly, other regulations in the bylaw to do with garbage enclosures, the number of parking spaces, and the amount of amenity space are fairly consistent. So nothing too out of the box here, but that this was a simple way to accommodate the proposal moving forward. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, Council, questions for the planner, please. Councillor Boot.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This MX zone, mixed-use zone, MX, whatever, number, is this a downtown plan-only zone?
At this time, this will be the only piece of property that this applies to, but ultimately, it would be available to anyone who wanted to make application to rezone to it, and ultimately be council's choice whether you allowed that. I would think that it would be most appropriate, certainly in
the downtown
in the downtown area, yes.
Okay, thank you. And I have one other question.
Go ahead.
Given that this is right downtown and, close to amenities in the park and recreation facilities, I'm wondering if there is any, can't think of the word, but any allowance for a reduction in the number of parking stalls that are required?
Mr. Mayor, I have to say that in creating the zone, I got the parking requirement from the RFP provisions that had been advertised. This is already at one parking space per unit, where you have various sizes of units, is already fairly exceptional in that regard. Generally, parking requirements for multifamily uses are assigned on a graduated basis. If you have one bedroom, often it'll be one space, 1.5 spaces for 2 bedrooms, 2 spaces for 3 bedrooms. In this particular development, what's being proposed is 1 space per dwelling unit, so it certainly takes that into consideration already.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Traynor and then Councillor Holmes.
I'm just wondering how this particular development differs from Rosedale.
Mr. Mayor, unfortunately, while I have spent some time there, I'm not familiar with the particulars of the...
There's commercial on the bottom, I think there, and then units on the top, and that's the same as Wharton. So I was just wondering if there's...
It's a
why
mixed
this
use,
one-
yeah, I mean, it
is also a mixed-use
Yeah.
building.
Okay.
And I believe that was constructed as a comprehensive development zone.
Oh, okay.
I'm just
Okay.
suggesting that...
I don't think Rosedale was.
No?
Don't
Okay.
believe so.
I would have to look back.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
But certainly,
yeah,
it's very
just curious
commonly
why- okay.
dealt with
Yeah,
that way.
that's fine.
Yes.
Commonly dealt with that way, but coming up with a mixed zone
Yes, this-
is much more consistent.
It's more efficient moving forward, that it provides the opportunity for others to partake of the same thing without
It
reinventing the wheel, if you will.
It could be that Rosedale is because the previous iteration on Morton Street was a CD7, was its number.
Could
So
well be then, yes.
I'm not sure what the others were. Councillor Holmes.
Just in line with this whole conversation, I guess from your perspective, when would you want to have a CD zone, and when would you want to create a new zone like this? I mean, it's from a planning perspective.
Well, Mr. Mayor, my personal philosophy is that comprehensive development zones are limited applicability. If you have a very, very large development where you're basically creating a zoning bylaw unto itself, then there's sometimes an opportunity to use that tool. But generally speaking, I like to create a zone that has broader applicability so that you're not treating the zoning bylaw as a contractual agreement between the municipality and the developer. If properties change hands, the zone can remain the same, and an alternative development proposal can come forward, which would be subject to the development permit guidelines contained in the official community plan. And that's where you would get the control. So you want to get your minimum standards in your zoning with siting, height, and that sort of thing, and then allow the particulars to be determined on a case-specific basis through the development permit process. The development permit process is subject to a 2-year approval, whereas if you go for a comprehensive development zone, it is far more permanent and requires a more onerous process should it need to be updated, of course, through the public hearing process and whatnot. I think once you've got the standards established, the opportunity provides more flexibility for all involved.
Councillor Peak.
In light of those statements, I'm wondering, because of the design that was put forward in the RFP, under number 2, which speaks to the building height of the two, and the floors above the 4-story to include reduced floor area, for example, 75% floor area of the story below. Why would we not include that in an MX1 and make it a more standard process?
I'm sorry, I'll have to review that too.
Was that in their proposal or in the RFP?
It's under design context in the report.
Okay.
So it would be number 2.
That's number
under
2.
category.
Number 2, buildings no less than 2 stories in height, no more than 4. It's certainly that we could do that if you felt strongly about that.
It was certainly the discussion when it was had at council to put it out that way. I know that that in light of who came forward and what they proposed, they only proposed 4 stories. But I think this allows a greater flexibility if you're actually establishing a new zone.
I see where you're going with that, yes, so I would change the maximum height, yes,
It limits the flexibility, because right now it could be 0, 1, I mean, it could be 1, 2, 3, or 4. So what you're suggesting is now it would be, if you went 2 to 4, you would be limiting it to 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, 2, 3, and 4.
Say that again, because then perhaps
Because,
I'm not understanding.
I think your wording is that it's maximum 4.
Yes, I
So
have.
you could be 1 story, 2, 3, 4, the way she has it written now.
Then I'm misinterpreting it in my brain. I'm thinking it's 4 and over, then it has to step back and be a percentage less. What you're saying is that it actually said no, but no more than 4 stories, and if it was 4 stories, then it included reduced.
Right. So certainly how I interpreted what you were saying was that, yes, it could be increased to 5 stories, and that the 5th story would have to be reduced in floor area, no more than 75%. I could make that change.
That's what I thought was in there, because that was what I understood we had the discussion on.
Okay.
So I'll put that on the floor for discussion, 5 floors, and if you could.
Was stepped back.
Yes.
So,
So the MX1 would then, under the provision for,
Let's just see, I keep flipping back and forth here.
get my
So-
eye on it, maximum height, under E, would that be 11.8.6?
Yes, maximum height, the lesser of 15 meters of 4 stories. We would have to decide what we felt the absolute height limit would be, which is usually the most appropriate way, actually, to specify things, or 5 stories. I can do some research if you like to determine the appropriate height in meters to provide maximum flexibility for a 5-story building there, if you like.
I just want to be clear that, this particular development is 4 stories.
Yes, it is.
But what you're defining here is this MX1 zone, which if went above 4 stories, it would have to be stepped back to 75%, but only up to 5 stories?
Yes.
So-
That's what's being suggested. at
So
the
if there
moment.
was a proposal for a 6-story building, you couldn't do it?
Correct.
Under
would have
this
to-
zone.
Under this zone,
under this zone.
We would go for
So you'd have to do a
comprehensive.
rezone, or you'd have a different zone?
Create another zone, possibly, yes. Or amend
Or
this.
amend this
Yeah,
one.
there are always a number of ways to accomplish something. It's just
Okay,
a
I mean,
matter of which way you'd like to go.
Yeah, I understand that. I just don't want to, I wanted to see what the options were, because I don't want to set in cement that this is the, the extent of any densification.
Oh, absolutely. The world is your oyster in that regard. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Holmes?
I'm not comfortable making the change. I'd like to keep it the way it is. I think the focus right now ought to be on this development
Yep.
and getting this going the way it's being proposed and the way we've talked about it and envisioned it and everything like that. And if future council would like to change it for for future developments down the road, then that's up to them. But I think for what we want to accomplish right now, I'm comfortable. I'd rather keep it the way it is.
But particularly in light of the potential options you might have, or a council might have down the road.
The fact that the submission was for this 4
Yeah,
stories, and
yeah,
that's
okay.
really what we're paying
Yeah, I
attention,
agree.
that's really what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Okay. So what's your desire? Were you making a motion, Councillor Peak? Or Councillor Holmes?
No, I was creating a discussion. so-
Okay, good, thank you.
Well, I'll bring the motion forward as presented.
Okay, thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Trainer, thank you.
Can we just make a statement that it's for reading first and second time and to schedule a public hearing?
Okay, yeah. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Okay, 14.2. You're still
This one,
staying.
this one is for a final adoption. Just a reminder to council that we had a public hearing last council meeting. We did third reading. There was 2 things outstanding when we had third reading. One was to have the covenant amended as per council's direction, and the other was that the application fee and form hadn't been received to date, which we can confirm that we have received both that and the restrictive covenant, so it is now ready for consideration of adoption.
Thank you. Okay, any questions? Councillor Holmes?
Just a clarification, in the report here, it talks about Schedule A, and I can't find the schedule anywhere. Would that be attachment C and D? Is that the Schedule A?
And where does
The
it
term-
reference the Schedule A?
Just in the, right at the beginning in the staff report.
I think attachment A was
In the
last week's previous report. Do you see that it's in red at the top and it's dated August the 13th?
So right at the
Oh, I see
bottom-
what you're saying.
Right at the bottom, page 89, right at the bottom of the staff report, the process. Staff are satisfied that the revised document contained in Schedule A to this report reflects council's intent.
So it's actually attachment C.
Attachment C,
Yeah,
okay. yeah.
and D, so you're right,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's
okay.
the covenants.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Okay. Is everybody clear on what was happening? Okay. It's being brought forward, correct? Councillor Barclay?
So to reiterate, maybe, to be perfectly clear on this, if we pass this 4th reading and the covenant, then it's in all likelihood, council will not see the subdivision plan or anything more to do with this development, correct?
You will see the development permits.
Mr. Mayor, yes, if there are requirements in the development permits that have been issued that speak specifically to the layout, and certainly for the sensitive environment development permit, you will see the subdivision plan come back to you for amendment of that first schedule of that development permit.
But that would only be for approval of the environmentally sensitive area.
Development
and their
permit.
handling of that. So procedurally, if, this is kind of backwards, when we've done, say, the previous subdivision at Trail Creek, we looked at the subdivision layout, and it didn't pass the first time, and they made some changes, and then it met with council approval. Can we table this motion until such time as council has an opportunity to review the subdivision plan?
So, I mean, that came up for a discussion last week, and council raised the motion to, council can't approve the subdivision plan. They can see it, but they don't have any, you can reject your rezoning on it, but subdivision is meant to be a separate process from zoning. And so, council, we're at adoption, so council would either, you can't have new information, so if it's new information that's related to your decision-making, you would have to rescind third reading and have a public hearing again. I think what you would want to do is have your vote of fourth read of adoption, and if it passes, pardon me?
It's okay.
If it passes, it passes, and if it doesn't, you would decide what.
So to follow up on that, the subdivision plan couldn't be one reason that we decided that we didn't want to approve the OCP when, if we tabled it, and then later, after we looked at the subdivision plan, which is different than the OCP, then we give final reading to the OCP.
Mr. Mayor, if I might
Go ahead.
try to clarify for you. You'll see here on the screen that I've got the text from the official community plan amendment bylaw that you're considering for adoption. So it speaks more broadly to the rural residential designation. It does not speak specifically to the Hunter Hills development. So we had to deal with this official community plan amendment that opened up the door for considering servicing of rural residential areas before we could consider the amendment of the covenant. And that covenant is what is tied to the subdivision plan. So I would just encourage you to look first of all at the text of the official community plan for adoption, and the question of Hunter's Hill almost as a second step, yes, if you will.
Well, what I want to do is be able to maintain the normal control that we would have.
But you're not rezoning.
Yeah, I know, but doing it this way, by maintaining the control through the official community plan.
Mr. Mayor, again, if I might comment, no, there is no density provision contained within this section of the official community plan. The density provision was handled by restrictive covenant, and that's why amendment of this restrictive covenant is where the density question laid. And because we have both the restrictive covenant and an existing zoning designation on the property, when you remove the density restriction from the restrictive covenant, it falls then back to the zoning designation, and the zoning designation speaks particularly to this development and was looked at on a site-specific basis when that text amendment was put into the zoning bylaw to deal with this development. So that question, the existing zoning stands, if you will.
Okay. Because essentially, as I understood it, the question that, we were concerned with was the, removal of the 67 lot deal, which was covered by the covenant, section 1, and it's in the old old text, and park dedication, road improvements, et cetera, were remaining in place, correct?
Correct.
So now that we have the application and fee in hand, is that what it is?
Yes, that's correct, sir.
And, you know, in the new section on page 7, you've got the new covenants laid out strictly with park dedication and road improvements. Those stay in place. So essentially, the footprint stays the same. I think what I've been worried about all the time with this development was the green space. That's why that covenant was put in place. And in terms of the, you know, road dedication, et cetera, that also specifies the footprint more or less. And as you see from the diagrams in the staff report, the footprint is essentially the same. The rationale for, you know, putting a forced main in was to make sure that we didn't add water to the covenanted area that was the parkland. And so a lot of those things have been taken care of. We've been very careful about making sure that there was substantial parkland, that the substantial parkland was not going to be affected negatively with excessive water, hence the forced main, and hence also the limited footprint of the development, which was created with the clustered approach, meant that, you know, originally it was going to be septic, of course, but the forced main meant that we were much less disruptive of the environment in the location. Therefore, you know, I found the sewer aspect of it, I was hesitant initially, but of course, being a forced main changes the picture. But that also meant that we could keep this limited clustered footprint and keep the other covenants in place. So I'm good with moving ahead and adopting this as we were moving forward the last meeting. Councillor Holmes.
I understand what Barkel's concerns are. My concerns, I have the exact same concerns. I've not seen the subdivision plan, but unfortunately, you know, we had this discussion already, and we came up on the short end of it. So I think what we need to do now is just look at this covenant and decide whether we're okay with it. And I think that's what's at hand today. So my understanding is, so there's no maximum lots specified in the covenant?
Well, it's restricted by lot size,
But
correct?
it's by
By
zoning now.
By
So
zoning,
they-
so
yeah.
that area restricts the number of lots given the topography and the lot size.
Correct.
And I think the estimate was about 148 lots? if I
That's
look at
correct. That's the
text.
maximum, I
Right.
think.
Okay, so that's
based on
maximum.
frontage.
And that maximum doesn't actually take into account potential topographical changes that may restrict even further the number of lots,
Correct.
correct? Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay. We ready to move ahead then? Someone like to bring that forward, please?
Could I just ask
Go
one
ahead.
question?
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As part of the subdivision, when you're going through the subdivision plan, I'm making an assumption that there is some stormwater management that's part of the subdivision plan, right?
As part of the subdivision assessment process, yes,
Right.
we will look at stormwater management.
Okay, right. So that would take care of, you know, heavy rainfall or some kind of incident like that.
The subdivision and development servicing bylaw provides us standards, and we assess every application on the basis of that bylaw. If we feel there's additional need in a specific circumstance because of some of the reports that have come to us through the development permit process, for example, then we'll ask those questions and be satisfied before I sign the plan.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. Someone like to bring Councillor Peak?
I'll bring forward the official community plan amendment bylaw, 2018-020, be read a final time and adopted. and the restricted covenants on the numbered lots be discharged concurrently with registration of the restricted covenant in Schedule A, amended restricted covenants to the report of the Director of Development Services dated August 17, 2018, on the titles listed, and that the mayor and corporate officer be authorized to execute all documents required to discharge and register this restrictive covenant with the Land Titles Office on the undertaking of the applicant's solicitor.
Thank you. Seconder, please. Councillor Trainer, thank you. Any further discussion?
Just one thing, Mr.
Sorry.
Mayor. Should the Schedule A amended restrictive covenants show as Schedule or Attachment D? Or is that going to be titled Schedule A? So in Part 2 of the motion?
We will,
Recommendation?
we will title the covenants as
Schedule A? Okay.
All in favor? Yeah, we have a seconder.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, sorry. I didn't see it.
In the development process in general, the developer is responsible for, as you said, the stormwater and such. How, and there's a 1 in 100-year standard that is commonly used. What sort of, how is that dealt with in terms of, say, there seems to be a big difference in development on rocky grounds versus gravelly grounds. Like, I look at roads and areas that were built supposedly to a standard where they have the drain, a dry well, and it's in bedrock, and it doesn't go anywhere, and it just overflows when there's a storm event. So, two questions. I understand that some communities are going to a 1 in 200-year standard for their stormwater development. Has that been under any sort of discussion here in Summerland? And secondly, does the design standards take into account the material that the dry wells are built in?
Mr. Mayor, I'll answer question 2 first of all, because that one is more specific. As I mentioned earlier, when we get reports through development permit processing and through the subdivision process, that informs our requirements moving forward through the subdivision. And if we find there are site-specific issues that need to be dealt with, then we'll be looking at those specifically. The first question, I would either defer to our Director of Works and Utilities, and also mention that because we're going to be reviewing the Works and Services bylaw, clearly, we'll be looking at all of those issues moving forward.
That is the key, that we're underway on the new development of the new subdivision servicing and development bylaw, and certainly the best practices will be looked at.
And so those are the items I can, right off the top, think of areas that you'd be familiar with where that's been a problem. So given that we're moving ahead and making substantial changes, I'm sure we'll be looking at that. So we ready to move ahead then? All in favor? Opposed? One opposed? Carried. Thank you. Okay. Moving ahead to councillor reports, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct? Starting with Councillor Holmes.
I attended a Cultural Development Committee meeting last week. Had a discussion on a number of topics, including the idea of developing a public art policy. So that will probably not come to us, but the next council will have the pleasure to look at that. And also, I just wanted to mention, I attended along with the mayor and Councillors Peak and Food to the Parkdale Lodge Grand reopening on Friday, and I'd like to give congratulations to them for both the renovations to the lodge as well as their future plans of expansion, which are quite exciting for the community.
Okay, Councillor Barpo.
No report.
Councillor Trainer.
No report.
You're mixing it up today.
Sorry.
That's great.
Throw a curve at you.
Yeah.
Councillor Peak.
Yeah, I attended a KVR board meeting, and they had some questions around the wayfaring signs that came through council and through Andreas Bohm, and they will be addressing those. I also would like to offer congratulations to our own golfing competitor, Brooke Henderson, for her standing in the Women's Open in Regina, and that's a wonderful accomplishment, first time in 45 years for a...
Since 73, wasn't it?
It said 45 years, I didn't get to it.
That's right. I know, I got that one figured out because I was married in 1970. Councillor Boone?
A little bit to report. Just a reminder that the Riga Fest starts tomorrow, and the Fall Fair is on September the 7th and 8th. And as council liaison to the Chamber of Commerce, the meeting has been moved to accommodate the UBCM, so it's going to be later in the month in September rather than on the 12th. And that's all.
By mixing it up, I do the same thing at home. I get my wife flowers occasionally for absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Good
So
for
it
you.
kind
Good idea.
of keeps her on her toes, and she obviously thinks that I've done something wrong, so there you go. Okay, press, or actually the public, any comments from the public? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you're right, Councillor Barkle, that bringing forward the Veterans Way, it was never moved forward or a resolution or anything. We brought it up, and it was sort of tabled and nothing done about it. I just wanted to say that, yes, we knew that.
Thank you. The press, Susan, John, yes?
I have two questions. The first is actually for Laura in that. So I'll ask Councillor Trainer, how much was the tender that was brought in, how much over the budget was it? Because we're speaking directly to you and the rest of us had trouble hearing it.
So it was just over $300,000 over the budget.
Okay. And the budget for that was, what percentage would that have been?
Budget 725.
The budget.
7.5.
725.
Trillion.
No, 725.
Okay.
Oh, million.
So that's a fair amount.
You could rebuild them out.
Okay, and my second question, this is for Councillor Pete. Could you explain again, please, why you voted against the water conservation plan endorsement?
Yeah, I have concerns about how this moved forward in a public way. Not that I was against the report going necessarily to back the funding possibility, but I would really like to see a more defined way of moving forward. And I know there were concerns with the previous committee, and I'm expressing those concerns by voting against it.
Thank you.
John? Okay, could I have a motion for adjournment, please? Councillor Holmes, Councillor Trainer, all in favor? Carried.